This is UMBC Careers Unleashed, where we unleash stories, insights, and expertise to support you on your career journey. Let's dive in.
We rolling.
So I know that, and just admission, right? We just filmed our second podcast. Yay! And we were we were unleashing the interview. We couldn't cover everything in there, right? But
It's hard, y'all.
It's hard out here for a podcaster, okay? It's hard out here for a podcaster, okay? We are just struggling. We're just trying to learn. And so with that being the case, there was a couple of things that our producers noticed and pulled out. And so we kind of want to touch on some of those things to support, just to give some extra context. So have you ever heard of imposter syndrome before?
Yeah, I have.
Okay, so if you were to give imposter syndrome a definition, a working definition, what would that be?
Feeling, you can't use the word in the definition.
Well, this is our podcast. Not ours, it's the Career Center's podcast, but we're on it.
We're on it.
Yeah.
Feeling like an imposter in a space that you are walking into. So it's feeling like you don't belong in a space that you essentially should belong in, right? So let's say I apply for a job and I get the job and everyone around me is so qualified and I don't feel like I measure up.
Right, but even though you got the job.
Even though I got the job.
Right,
That's
okay, yeah,
syndrome.
I feel that. So it's that you feel insecure in a way that maybe is not validated by the external realities, but you
right.
inside of that, it's almost like you see your shadow and you say, "That's not me."
That
you know,
ain't me.
like that, that's not my shadow. That shadow is too nice or whatever. I got you. Okay, so in the context of interviewing, right, or being in pursuit of an interview, after you've applied or whatever, in that context, how do you think maybe someone could deal with that, imposter syndrome,
I know.
have you ever dealt with it in that way?
I've struggled with it so much when I struggle with imposter syndrome, it's never in the interview. It's always been after I've gotten the job.
Okay.
But if I the feeling of just oh my God, I don't belong here. I don't deserve this. I don't deserve this thing. Everyone here is so much more qualified than me. Just that negative self-talk.
Yeah, that real you got going. Yeah.
And what I've learned is the only way to combat that is to force some positive self-talk too.
Okay.
So when you hear a negative thought, right? You get in with a negative thought and it goes, "Oh, I don't deserve this. I do deserve this." Immediately. When you hear your internal monologue say, if you have an internal monologue, I just found out not everyone has an internal monologue. But if you hear your internal monologue go, "Oh, I don't deserve this," you go, "Yes, you do."
So what I just heard you say is stop listening to yourself and start talking to yourself.
Start talking to yourself.
Yeah.
And people who cares what everyone else thinks? Say the thing. Say the thing to yourself that will make you feel more self-assured. When you start feeling like you don't belong somewhere, speak out loud to yourself and say, "I do belong here and I do deserve to be here."
I like that. I feel too, and we were kind of hinting to this off camera a little bit earlier, it's that when you feel maybe not as valuable in a specific context,
right,
that sometimes it's important, and this may be just my own thing, right? This is my admission, but what I like to do is to look at someone or to analyze someone that I do think is valuable, right? And maybe demystify them, right? For example, and this is me reaching, I don't want to talk about anybody or whatever, but this person makes fun of themselves, but Kevin Hart, right? As a comedian, Kevin Hart has so many businesses. He has so many movies out there. He has, he's funny. He's got comedy specials. He's got all these things, but he's short. Now that sounds crazy, but everybody's got something. That for me, I can't say for that might just
not
be
that being short's a bad thing. We love short things.
There's nothing to be wrong with being short. But he always makes fun of himself for being that thing, and that he makes light of how that has brought drama or concerns in his life.
Right.
So for me, it's kind of Or this might be a bit much, but like, you know, I wonder if anybody ever, you know, gave Hillary Clinton the breath mint. No, I'm serious. You're laughing at me. But maybe I guarantee you one day that like the CEO of any Fortune 500 company, that I guarantee you one day somebody slid them a breath mint. Do you know what I'm saying? And if the CEO of a Fortune 500, if Warren Buffett needed a breath mint, I'm okay.
I'm gonna be all right.
I'm gonna be
I'll
all
be fine.
right.
I'll be fine.
I'm gonna be all right. Like, so I mean, I know that's a comedic relief, but really
though.
like
No,
when
that's
you're dealing
real.
with imposter syndrome, like somebody who you think is like the best person.
That's real. That's
Like,
real.
Let's humanize them.
Right.
Yeah. Another thing that came up, I'm switching gears right off the like laughing to tears. Is okay when you interview for a job, right? And you haven't heard anything back in like 2 weeks. Are you stressing?
In this era, that is so common.
Yeah.
Like so common. You send out like, I've had a friend who sent out, I think 30 applications, didn't hear back for any of them. Not a single one. Not even an email.
That is rough.
Like that's the experience now though. Like it's really like you put out all these applications, you send out all these feelers, and nobody want to feel you back. Like it's it's horrible.
Yeah, that humanizes it, right? Because that's your experience. Okay, from the other side, let me tell you, right? So let's keep it cute, right? Like you said, keep it short, keep it cute. The world is so global, right? Like you're not applying just like a job that's in Maryland is not, you know, at UMBC is not just being applied to by people who live in Baltimore County.
Right.
Then it's not just being applied to by people who live in Maryland, right? Like if you put something on the internet, it's worldwide.
Mm-hmm.
So somebody who lives in Australia who might be moving to Baltimore could apply for that job, right? So now the net is really huge. So you've got, while we have AI involved, but you've got so many applicants. So just sheer volume takes time. 2, it depends on when you're applying, right? Because like, for example, after students graduate from college or right around that college graduation period, the job market is flooded because not everybody, but like a lot of folks are like now they're going into the thing. So now it's like, okay, it's May, right? The turnaround time in May may be a lot longer than in November. Do you know what I'm saying? So it's like hang in there kind of vibes, right? So that's something to take into account. So volume, timing comes into play. And then also you have to think about the fact that the people who are that ultimately when your resume does make it to a person, that it's making it to a person, right? And so that person may have a competing project. That person may have to go on vacation, like all of these kinds of things.
Right.
Like, so to humanize it, right? So I would say to take those things into consideration. And one of the things that you can do in that time frame, right? Let's say I would, and also where you applied, right? If you're applying for a federal government job, that's just like set it and forget it. You apply and just like, you know, we wait, right? Because the government also has its checks and balances and its process, and it moves kind of slow.
Right.
Taking those things into consideration, here's my thought. I might be not as ambitious as some. I would say that I would apply for something and I would give it, before I panic, I'm going to say 30 days.
30 days.
30 days. Now, inside of that, if you can't wait 30 days, you might do something at the 2-week mark. But I think that that's a little presumptuous. I'm thinking 30 days. I'm going to really say it, right? You may send a follow-up email to say, you know, I'm still very interested, if there's an email connected to it, that might be something that you can do to push the needle forward. If you're feeling that, like, I want to just push myself up as one of the leading candidates kind of vibe. So those are some quick things I think there. You know, it's like take into consideration all the factors of what might be delaying it, and then what can you control, right? And so it might even be, you know, if you feel bold, you can, making a phone call too, but like doing just something, but a nice nudge to say, I'm still interested. Let me resend my resume,
right?
Kind of thing. I want to talk about the virtual interview.
The virtual interview. Don't even get me started on the virtual interview.
Like, you know, because there are different kinds of people.
Yeah.
Right. You said you were a communicator.
I love communication. I love people. I love being a people person. It's great. But being virtual takes like some of the human essence out of it, right? We've gone through COVID, so we know that like virtual options are important.
Yeah.
They are life-saving.
Right.
So like adapting to that is super important. I just got out of doing a mock trial tournament completely virtually. And in mock trial, like my job as a witness is to make people like me.
Yeah.
How do you like, it's my job to make people.
Are you lying? Are you the witness that's lying?
Sometimes.
See? And right.
So getting people to like you is real hard when you're in your room, in your underwear, in your chair, with the Zoom camera on, like not for real, but like you know what I'm saying, like you're dressed down, you're not like you're not dressed up, and so I like we were sitting here doing this virtual competition. This relates to the virtual interview because a lot of the things are the same. You kind of have to amp your energy up higher than it actually would naturally be in person, just to deliver it to a virtual audience. Yeah, and like now this is different, like because there's two types of virtual interviews.
Right. Well, yeah. Well, we going. So but you know what? Let's push pause real quick or put a pin, because the virtual setting, right? We've gotten comfortable. Now I know there's some people who get fully all the way jazzed for their virtual work day, for their own mental health, because that makes them feel like they are at work. But then there are others, and and by others I mean me, where I definitely have on the professional top and the hair, and I have on casual. I'm casual, right? So that is an admission, and sometimes that may impact how you show up, right? So we got that reality going on. But let's say, right, that I send you over email a list of questions, like 3 or 4 questions, and then I tell you to like sit in front of your camera and record yourself answering those questions. Now, as a person who likes the chemistry, where are you with that?
I'm mad, I'm angry, but I'm gonna do it because I want this job, right? So how do we adapt to a situation where you don't get to be your best self? You don't really get to be like the most human version of yourself. It's like a self-tape for an audition is how I would see it. Okay. So I would take it in the same way that all my actor friends, when they're doing these self-tapes for auditions, like they literally just like like they do. I know some people who do push-ups right before. I know some people who go on jogs right before, just to get their heart pumping, energy up. They're smiling as wide as they possibly can. They're doing everything times 10 to the normal amount that they normally would.
So basically, you're saying that they need to be an actor.
You got to.
You got to get a character.
If you're not speaking directly to a human being and they've sent you questions and you're talking to an AI for an interview, you have to be an actor. Because at that point.
You know what? I will say this though too, like if I had to flip it on the other side, right? Or the questions are flat. Do you know what I'm saying? Right. Just
because not every interviewer is a good interviewer.
Like or just the questions are on a sheet of paper. I'm hoping that you're not looking for an actor who did calisthenics or however you pronounce it before the thing. Like if the question says, tell me about yourself, right? And I'm just like looking right in the camera and I'm like, hello, my name is Stephanie Taylor, Okoukoni, right? And da 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 da. Listen, if I answered the question, they gotta know that it's not easy. You know what I'm saying? Like I gotta get an Academy Award for a pre. No,
you don't have to be like Robert Downey Jr. You don't gotta be Denzel Washington, right? But you do have to extend yourself a little bit.
I'm gonna respectfully disagree. Okay. I am. I'm just gonna say, listen, if this is the format that they came to you in, and it is not necessarily the most savvy of formats, that to do the best you can within the constraints. Like done is better than perfect. Okay. And so that it doesn't create a barrier for people. If they ask you 4 questions or if they ask you something on a prompt and you got a 5-second timer, boop, 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 clicking down, like, and you're watching the timer spin on the thing, answer the question. Do the thing to get you through. You know what I mean? I'm not saying that it's okay to be to be laissez-faire. But what I'm saying is that if this is the format that they came to you in, that they also set their expectations and have an understanding around how that platform makes people perform.
Right. So
that's just real. You're not the only person that's experiencing this challenge. And so a lot of the tapes that they're getting are flat answers. So be confident in being flat.
I could go back further on that if we have more time.
I feel like you can offer what you got. I don't know if I'm going to agree.
I think you're right. I think you're right. You should just answer the question.
Uh-huh.
But my thing is, what's going to push you over the edge and get you the job is if you are a heightened version of yourself.
But you know what, though? The pre-recorded is the preliminary interview, right? And so the preliminary interview, I don't think that is, air quotes, again, the do or die moment.
Right.
It is, do you meet the minimum threshold in order for us to bring you in? This is the company's minimal, like their lowest investment, right? To determine, do you meet culturals, like for our industry, like our company culture. Have you, I don't know, I'm just coming up with like a thing, but like,
right.
If it were a job, like how you used to do the questionnaires, I don't know if you ever did, like for like a Walmart job or like a customer service, or like, have you ever stolen from the thing? And you just click the button, you know what I mean? Like for me, I'm not saying equating it to that, but what I'm saying is that I think that the anxiety around how you show up in a flat format like that, I'm just saying let the air out of that a little bit for people. That's what I'm saying. Because yes, you want to do all the things, but if that format is flat, all you can do is the best that you can.
But you want to read as human though. Like you don't want to read as like, you don't want to
You
read
are
as
human.
like,
if you read as human
but
while you're talking.
You lose a little bit of that over the virtual space. That's what I'm saying. You have to overcompensate a little bit.
I think that what you're saying is not invalid.
Right.
For the person who cannot necessarily create the going into character, right? Like crying on cue. If you can't,
you gotta cry on cue.
I'm just saying,
you do all that.
If you can't cry on cue, have a cup on the side and put the water here. Do you know? I'm just saying the thing that, yes, in best case scenario, if there's a way for you to get there, by all means do that. But if not, you have to know that you are not anomalous in that challenge. And I'm bringing this from my perspective, right? So say, for example, I used to be an academic advisor one time in my life. And at a certain time of the semester, students will want to drop classes, right? And they're like, oh my God, I did terrible. And I had this like list of questions that I would ask them. And so then sometimes, because they thought they were the only one, it's like, no, at this time of semester, everybody hits the wall.
Right.
And it's like, okay, are there assignments that you can make up? Is there like all of these things that now I'm like taking you out of your individual experience. And because I know that so many people are going through this, I now am demystifying that experience.
Right.
And in the same way, I'm saying that if you are having trouble in the pre-recorded environment because you feel flat or you feel like weird, like I'm talking to a camera, right? Like I'm sitting in front of my laptop and you're not by yourself. Let's also put this out there, food for thought. What if you are actually in an interview, virtual or not, and the interview is just kind of like drab? And maybe it's not because you're unrelatable, or maybe it's not because you're having a hard time communicating, but like that the format that you have been presented, whether it's a person, a panel of people, like that their ability to deliver an interview to you is kind of like blah for sure. Like what do you do in that case?
Keep being yourself.
I love that.
Just keep doing what you've been doing, and don't let it get into your brain and fester, right? Like ice skaters, when they're skating, you can always tell a great skater from a good skater because of who keeps their mistakes in their head. Like watch an ice skater mess up and see how good their performance is for the rest of the show. Like, did they keep spinning even though they like screwed up like 2 tricks ago, or did they like fall apart?
Wow.
Because you can't fall, like, because I know people, and I've been this person actually, where I've been sitting in a bad interview and I'm getting interviewed by this guy who like doesn't know anything about like me as a person, and like I feel like he doesn't really understand what the point of this interview is, and I'm taking all of this in, and I'm like, I can hear the anxiety in the back of my head literally going like, yo, like this is going bad. He doesn't understand us. Like we're not communicating properly. But you can't let that happen. Like you have to just like, no. I'm going to keep doing my thing and keep being yourself, because when you keep being yourself, it'll come through no matter what. And it's ultimately like, if it's a bad interviewer, they're still looking at you and they're still hearing your answers. So keep giving those good answers. Keep practicing what we talked about in the full episode, and you'll be fine.
I love that. Like there, I don't think that there's much I can add to it, right? It's like to have, and I do also know that there's another experience, right? For the person who does struggle with that negative self-talk or thought, you know, for the person who maybe has like a perfectionist personality, right? Like that they reflect back onto themselves. The only thing that we can offer to you, you know, if that is the case, right, is that if you've done everything that you can, that you've prepared, and that you've given, you know, you've answered the questions,
Right.
that you just gotta, like what you said, you just gotta keep spinning. Keep spinning. And my grandmother used to say this: what doesn't come out in the wash comes out in the rinse. Right? If you did good, you'll hear from them. And even if you did good, you may not get the job.
That's
you know,
true.
that has, those have two different things.
Exactly.
Like where your value is, what your value is as a human, and whether or not you were a good fit for that job or that job was a good fit for you.
Exactly.
Yeah.